And you're off.
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, class codes 48 to 49 have the highest non-fatal injury incidence rate. According to the DOT, the employment in this class code continues to rise year after year. Several workers' compensation law firms also reported that the most common causes of claims in these class codes were overexertion, slip, trips, and falls, and struck by or caught in between. These claims are very expensive due to the potential surgery and therapy required to heal these injuries. An average caught in between claim in Wisconsin costs $9,219. An average slip, trip, or fall claim costs around $11,500, and an average overexertion injury claim costs $10,300.
All right. So, Johnson Health Tech is a leading manufacturer and distributor of fitness equipment in the world. Within the U.S., the majority of business revolves around the assembly and delivery of this equipment to both commercial businesses and residential dwellings. The delivery aspect of the business is quite a challenge as the equipment ranges vastly in size and shape, typically weighs between 300 to 500 pounds, and is generally not designed with delivery in mind. Not only does this pose a significant risk to employees tasked with lifting and maneuvering this equipment, but there's little to no standardization across delivery crews in terms of their practices and the equipment they use to actually deliver and lift the fitness equipment. Given this, a formal study was conducted to explore potential lifting devices or alternative solutions that could reduce the risk involved with this task.
So Johnson Tech offers a service called the Red Carpet Service, where technicians will fully assemble the equipment before they get to the building or the house that they are delivering the equipment to, and then they will deliver inside the house fully assembled. On the next couple of slides, I'll show part of the delivery process. So in the first picture here, we have the moving technicians loading the elliptical onto a small cart to fit into the moving truck, where it'll be brought to the house. And then in the second picture here, we have them unloading it from the truck, fully assembled onto a larger cart. In this picture is after the moving technicians have unloaded the elliptical from the cart, and here they are ducking and bending to fit underneath a set of stairs. The moving technicians here are trying to fit the elliptical through a set of sliding doors, with one technician holding the heavier side up while the other tries to line up the equipment with the door so it can be slid in.
Okay. In terms of workers' compensation, there were 58 claims from delivery and installation technicians between 2018 and 2023, specifically regarding the delivery and assembly of equipment to customers' homes. Next one. Regarding cost, those 58 claims represent over $743,000 paid out over 5 years. As you can see in the graph, most of these dollars were paid out in 2020 due to two severe cases, a shoulder injury and an ankle injury that represented around $543,000. While this is not the norm, the opportunity for severe injuries and high dollar value claims is readily apparent.
So among delivery technicians, fingers and the lower back are the two most commonly injured body parts with 9 claims each, with ankles, shoulders, and knees also being frequently injured body parts. In total, between 2018 and 2023, there are 42 injury claims for delivery technicians.
Eric expected us to use the Lean Six Sigma DMAIC process for this project. The DMAIC process is a data-driven improvement process that stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. We came into this project with several assumptions, but this framework challenged us to challenge these assumptions. And we had to physically test each of our ideas to get a sense of quantifiability. We had dozens of ideas, some of which were shut down immediately. Some had some testing where we thought we had a lead and then got shut down. And now we've got one that we're feeling kind of good about. It combines several of the benefits of previous ideas and scraps some of the challenges of the previous ones. But we'll get into that later.
All right, so really attacking this problem, we really wanted to extend all our possible resources. So when we came into researching solutions, we went all over the internet. We would search different markets from different moving companies, called a lot of different companies just to see what was out there. We also did some testing in our lab while also keeping in mind the biomechanics and researching what is really going on with this delivery and what are some of the negative effects that there are and where we can make improvements. Then also we brought in some experts just to get some of their insights, what they think of this problem, and also get their expertise into what we should do going further.
So in our quest to find a solution for this challenge at hand, we decided to test from, our first idea was to test appliance straps. And from there, as you can see, we tested the forearm dolly straps. We also tested the shoulder dolly straps. From there, we decided that really didn't work out. So we went to the idea of testing out appliance truck. The appliance truck seemed to work pretty well. They could hold the weight of both the elliptical and the treadmill, but the challenge was getting the elliptical and the treadmill up and down the stairs. We also decided to test out two different other types of options as deadlift straps and lifting gloves. Those seemed to sort of work, but really not in the long run. Finally, we also thought about potentially using the test of an air sled, which was possible, but it wouldn't work well outdoors. So
During our process, we interviewed professional movers and delivery folk to see what people were doing in the field about heavy and awkward moves. We wanted to see if anybody was out there doing something innovative. We made sure to check with many different perspectives, both locally and nationally. We had people from Seattle, from Texas, from Colorado, from Florida, from New York, and locally here in Madison, Chicago area. We also made sure to talk not only to the movers and delivery companies, but also to retailers such as Dick's and Dunham's. Out of the 19 companies that we contacted, we've got responses from 9 of them. 7 of those 9 companies reported that they relied on some form of manpower, which is pretty much just grit and good luck and figuring it out from there. They also mentioned that a lot of them did hazard pay, which is its own problem because now the workers are going to be focused on doing a dangerous lift more quickly. 5 companies stated that they provided equipment for their workers. These equipments included dollies, ratchet straps, moving blankets, and gloves. And 4 of the companies said that the employees provide their own equipment, many of which were hump straps, back support, or one of the retailers actually said that their dollies were being stolen by their third-party moving company. 2 of the companies said that they would limit the lift to 100 pounds per worker. However, that's kind of a confounding variable we have here as we only have 2 delivery install technicians working on each truck. And even if we were to get the 4 to 5 people we would need for that rule, there's no way we would be able to get that many people on a staircase at once. 2 of the companies said that they would disassemble the product or they would just assemble it inside of the house. However, given Johnson Tech's red carpet treatment, that's kind of a confounding variable here. Though we did experiment with doing a brief partial disassembly. And lastly, 2 of the companies straight up would deny doing this job because they find it too inherently dangerous.
So being that our this delivery is unique in its own right with its own equipment, we wanted to really identify the different ergonomic strains that this lift will present. So through our testing, we were able to come up with some of what your delivery technicians are already experiencing. On the left, you can see this is what, if people were picking it up from the ground level, they would have to bend over, they're hunched over, their backs are not straight, and they are lifting not in the center of their gravity, but instead out in front of them. Then on the picture on the right, you can see, well, the mover on the right might have a straighter back. That lift is still out in front of them, away from his center of gravity. And then on the guy on the left, his hands are not in a good lifting position. And you can also think about the different strain that it is putting on his fingers with that coupling that he has there. So to analyze that lift some more and really quantify what that strain is, we wanted to analyze the biomechanics and give us an idea of where this is ranking in terms of severity. So to do that, we conducted an FMEA, a JHA, and a NIOSH lifting equation. Firstly, the FMEA identified the potential risks and effects of those risks, and then we could prioritize those risks based on an RPN, which is calculated through severity, occurrence, and detection. Through that calculation, we were able to determine that the RPN for the lift is about 560. And then going on from that, we conducted a JHA, which through different criteria, we quantified the risk being is a high risk lift. And then lastly, we used the NIAF lifting equation to quantify the ergonomic strain of that specific lift. So we found that just lifting it normally, that can put a lifting index of 7.1 to the lift. The NIOSH lifting index normally should be around a 1.0, so we are 7 times that lifting index that is recommended. Just to state clearly, this is just the initial lift. It does not account for any of the stairs, tight corners, twisting, or anything else that might be present in the job.
Through our lab testing, we tested a variety of different lifting devices. These include U-line grip-in gloves. We tested 2 dollies. We tested appliance lifting straps, a chest-supported dolly, deadlift straps, and sliders. These devices were tested in teams of 2, similar to the way the delivery tech installers would work. And finally, we were looking to identify key issues that would help us in developing our recommendations for the lift.
As you stated before, we tested out 2 different types of appliance straps. As you can see on the right here, we have the forearm lifting strap with our hands free from the dolly. Then we also have the shoulder lifting strap that uses more of your back. The price for the forearm dolly is around $27. The shoulder dolly is around $211. We also tested U-line gloves. Some pros and cons with that. They also had really good grip, but over time they ripped easily, the worker stated, and then they lose their tackiness over time. We also tested out deadlift straps as well. Those really didn't have any pros. The straps were too short, and they required more grip strength to lift the equipment off the ground as well.
For our dollies we tested, we had 2 different dollies ranging in price from $167.95 to $655.68. Pros of these were that one person could move the elliptical or the treadmill at a time, however that was typically only on a flat surface. These could also pick up the equipment and lift it up the stairs, however it wasn't practical and we would need a better solution. One of our dollies we did test couldn't even lift the load it was put under. And finally, when lifting upstairs, these would put workers in awkward positions, especially the one at the top pulling it. Next, we looked at sliders. Sliders came in at $59.99. Really, the one pro we had is that this was easy to slide equipment around across the floor and one person could do it. However, we did find a con that if the weight was not distributed evenly, the equipment would dig into the slider, causing damage on the floor beneath it.
So we wanted to dig an expert's brain on what to do about the situation. We went to Dr. Kapelish, who is a professor at the University of Milwaukee in occupational therapy science. Overview of our discussion was us just going over the scope of our project, the background about the company, variables that are very problematic for us, the ideas that we've had, and then we also demonstrated for him. Later on in the interview, Dr. Kapelish gave us some feedback. That feedback included some long-term changes, which meaning like taking the flywheel out of the machine to make it easier to move and make it a lightweight machine. He gave us feedback about push and pull techniques whenever possible, maybe including some wheels on or under the machine to help push and pull. Other feedback, he told us that you want to have the weight under you and not in front of you at all time, which makes it easier on our spines. And he included that extending machine will make that easier. Wanted us to try out some aluminum beams or I-beams and shoulder straps.
All right, we had another interview with another expert in the industry. We actually went here at Whitewater to the ergonomics professor, Professor Tavera. So our discussion was more based on some administrative controls that he would recommend. Through telling him about the background information and the scope of the project, he really felt that adding 3 administrative controls, which are a pre-delivery lift plan, a decision tree, and documenting delivery data, he thought that those would have a big impact in the long run. So with the the pre-delivery plan. That just gives you an idea of what you're even getting into, and maybe it will give you some criteria of what you need for that specific delivery. And then the decision tree, he felt that being that the lifts are not standardized, each house or delivery might be different. Maybe a decision tree could be implemented to help standardize the lifts and make so each delivery can have a little bit of the same things going on at all times. And then lastly, documenting the delivery data. In the long run, this will give us insights and let us trend some patterns that are going on in the company and make improvements from there.
This is a picture showing of what we have added since we have talked to the ergonomic experts. We have the shoulder straps in the blue. We have the zip ties that are what we have decided now that we are going to keep the machine from sliding back and forth over our platform. And our platform is made out of the 2x4s where the yellow arrow is pointing to. And then the sliding mechanism is a green arrow right under the platform made out of 2x4s. The recommendations of our custom lift platform, we are going to change from zip ties to either ratchet straps or hooks to keep the machine from sliding back and forth. We are thinking about using retractable wheels and rounded edges for pushing and pulling when we can, most likely outside of homes where we can use the wheels, roll it up to the front door, and then start using the sliding mechanism when we get inside of the house so we avoid scratching any floors or damaging any of their property. Another recommendation is adjustable platform to fit under and modify for different pieces of equipment. A treadmill and elliptical are different sizes and different weights, so being able to have a platform that is adjustable and you can modify for different equipment would be extremely beneficial. And then instead of the 2x4s, we plan on using aluminum I-beams, which was recommended by Dr. Kabelish. The aluminum I-beams have more sturdiness and will not bend or break like the 2x4s might.
All right. For additional recommendations, we are looking to implement a pre-delivery lift plan, which would essentially be a survey or a questionnaire filled out by the buyer that would include things of where they would want it dropped off, the path that they'd want us to take, and any possible hazards that might also be there, whether it be small kids, animals, if their house is under construction, and then also including a possible extra fee if it were extra hazardous, such as a house that wants you to take your shoes off before delivery. And then our next recommendation would be conducting a lift plan prior to arrival. This could be in the form of a decision tree, and it'll help technicians go over the pre-delivery lift plan survey and figure out the best way to complete this lift that puts them at the least amount of risk while also not damaging the customer's home or the equipment. And then finally, documenting the delivery experience. This would be to ensure customer satisfaction and delivery technician safety. It would be over how long the delivery took, difficulties encountered and how they were resolved, and the effectiveness of the equipment and pre-lift planning. You can take all of that information gathered and utilize it for the DM AIC, because we've gone about as far as we can with our lab testing and up to and including our prototype. And what would be needed now is field testing. And then lastly, there's the option to redesign the equipment. The biggest issue with the equipment is how heavy it is. So we know that for one of the pieces of equipment, the flywheel is the most heavy material or heavy object in it. So possibly redesigning that with a more lightweight material, or making it so parts can come off easily during transport and be put together without a mess or like an issue.
Yeah. Well, in summary, there is no easy answer to this issue. Given the vast difference in size, shape, and weight of the equipment, the care and caution needed to maintain a high standard of delivery, and the months of testing various solutions, the issue has presented itself as much more complicated than any wholesale solution can truly combat. Building off the lessons learned from our previous testing and insight provided by the ergonomics experts, we managed to mock up a prototype lifting platform that provided very promising results. While the issue is not solved, the prototype serves as a good stepping stone to a viable solution capable of reducing risk involved with this